Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop, and this is my performance review of the Under Armour Futr X Elite 2. So this is Under Armour's brand new hoop shoe, and it uses flow technology and it looks really nice. And also another thing about the shoe that kind of caught my eye is the IntelliKnit. It's using a knit upper, it's one booty as well, which kind of took me back a little bit, you know what I mean? Like back in the day, the earlier kind of 2010s, I guess, a lot of shoes were using knit. You guys remember the craze for Flyknit and PrimeKnit? And now no shoes use knit, which kind of sucks, you know what I mean? But yeah, this shoe retails for $150, which is a little bit more on the expensive side of things, but I would say it's more like mid-tier pricing. And it is $10 cheaper than Curry's actual shoe, the Curry Series 7, but not for long because Curry is a sneaker-free agent and he might be signing with Nike soon, which we'll see, right? But yeah, $10 cheaper than his actual shoe, which is the Curry Series 7, which I think is pretty interesting. The actual tech is pretty similar as well, but the overall shoe feels extremely different, you know what I mean? Because yeah, I took both of these shoes and I played in both of these shoes at the same exact time, and so I guess I'll be doing a little bit of a comparison as well. But yeah, if you guys do want to cop this shoe or the Curry Series 7, I'll try to leave in the free link in the description box. If you do choose to get either of these shoes, it does help me if you buy it through the free link in the description box, and as always, saying so much for all the support. And also, if you guys have any questions, you guys can always DM me on Instagram. I try to get to all my DMs, but I'm sorry if I'm a little bit late on that because I do get a good amount of DMs. But anyways, let's get it started right off with the Tracciones. And the thing that I really like about this shoe is that they are using a different outsole pattern, you know, and also they did the same exact thing here in the Curry Series 7, which I do appreciate, but it only took them like 5-6 years. Like literally, if you look at the Curry 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and also maybe the Curry 13. The Curry 13 is supposedly the last Curry with Under Armour, you know what I mean? But anyways, if you look at all those and also all the freaking Flotros, pretty much they all have the same exact flow outsole pattern, besides these two shoes with Under Armour, which it's their newer shoes. So yeah, pretty much we have these, like, it looks like rocks, which I think looks pretty cool, but they're like really long rocks, especially once you get here into the tip of the toe. So one thing that did worry me is the durability, and yeah, the durability is not good. I don't know if you guys can see, like in person it looks terrible. I tried filming it, but I couldn't really, it didn't seem like terrible. It didn't look bad on camera, but like here, you know what I mean? First of all, you can see just how thin it is, you know what I mean? And it's really like coming off, and I did not play with these outdoors at all, you know what I mean? So literally like at the tip of the toe as well, right over here. Hopefully it's coming out on camera, but it's like fraying off like crazy, guys. So it does not seem durable at all, and it also seems like a lot less durable than a lot of the other flow outsoles. Also comparing it to like the Curry Series 7, because it's not like as soft, you know what I mean? Because the grooves are really freaking thin in this shoe. So I definitely feel like they should have made it a little bit maybe wider this way. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, if you're playing on a clean court, literally it has the hardest stop that you can get right now. Like Flow has, you guys already know, Flow has the hardest stop, or one of the hardest stops that you can get if you're playing on a clean court. And it stops a little bit too hard for me as well sometimes, you know? So if I'm playing on a clean court, I am actually a little bit scared to play in these and go really freaking hard, because this shoe stops so freaking hard, you know, and just like the Curry Series 7, just like any other shoe that has flow, right? So that you guys already know. Also, this shoe is silent. It has no squeak, which of course squeak has nothing to do with performance. But if you like to have a nice squeak, like me, this shoe has no squeak. And also dust, it does pick up a little bit of dust, you know what I mean? And when I'm playing on like a slightly dusty court, I like it because it performs like a shoe that has really nice solid traction. You know what I mean? So slightly dusty court, actually just sliding a little bit is a little bit better for me than just stopping instantaneously when I'm playing on a clean court. For me personally, you know what I mean? But yeah, slightly dusty court, I don't really mind it too much, right? But once I get into like a moderately dusty court to like a super dusty court, it picks up a lot of dust, picks it up pretty quickly, and you do start to slide around a lot. So that kind of sucks. But yeah, you guys already know, I feel like it's the exact same performance as any other Curry, you know, or I mean any other shoe that has flow. And also, again, durability sucks. So yeah, there is the traction there, and I guess I could talk about the outsole curvature a little bit. There is a tiny bit of outsole curvature, which does feel kind of nice, but it all has to do with it's more curved here in the midfoot area. It's kind of hard to show you guys, but like especially here, starting from the heel a little bit, but especially here in the midfoot area, like right in the middle of the shoe, it rounds like crazy, almost like a boat, you know what I mean? So it rocks like this, you know? So it kind of feels nice in a way where it feels a little bit more like an outsole curvature, reminds you a little bit of like the Kyrie 2s even, but also they did a little bit too much here in the heel where it feels really unstable, which we'll get into. So, and now moving on to the heel to toe transition. Overall heel to toe transition is extremely freaking smooth. Like pretty much every single Curry flow and like pretty much any shoe that has flow, they have a crazy pronounced kind of shape, like rocker shape, U shape even, you know? Even here in the Curry Series 7, you can see here in the heel as well as in the forefoot just how curved it is. You can see how curved up it goes, you know what I mean? But it I guess like with the Curry Series 7, it does rock a little bit, but look at this, the Futr X Elite 2. That's crazy. It reminds me of the Motivas. You guys remember the Nike Motivas, which is literally a walking shoe? Look at this. So it's one of the craziest shapes that I've played with, you know, and I really like how it feels. Especially when I'm doing like fast breaks and running down the court. First of all, that feels extremely smooth just because of the overall shape. You know what I mean? Like you can see just how much it curves up starting here. Like it starts like curving up from the heel right here, and also here in the forefoot like right here, which is insane. So the rocking shape is crazy, but also it feels really freaking nice when I'm shooting, right? Just putting a little bit of my weight here into the tip of my toes, it just rocks me forward. And when you're shooting, you want to be more on your toes, of course, right? And it just feels so nice. So when I was switching from this shoe to another shoe that I was testing, like the Precision 8 Mid or something like that, or like the Sabrina 3s even, those aren't super, I mean the Precision 8 is pretty flat, but like Sabrina 3 is not super duper flat, right? But then when I switched to the Sabrina 3, I was like, yo, these feel so flat, and I really don't like how flat my foot feels when I'm shooting. And then when I switched back into this shoe, I was like, oh, that feels really nice because it keeps me on my toes. So that feels extremely nice. I love the heel to toe transition. It's extremely smooth. And also here in the forefoot, it does bend a little bit, which is kind of different from like the older Currys and stuff like that, which are a little bit stiffer, you know? So that does feel pretty nice and smooth. It's not explosive at all. Overall torsional support is pretty good too. Not super duper stiff, but a little bit stiffer than a lot of other shoes like the Tatum 4 and stuff like that. So there is a heel to toe transition there. Moving on to the cushioning setup. So the cushioning setup is actually quite nice. However, one thing I didn't like about it is the core feel. The core feel is not the best, you know? So comparing to the Curry Series 7, it is a little bit higher up off the ground, right? And the Curry Series 7 is comparable to the Book 1. However, I would say it's a little bit higher up off the ground than the Book 1 for the Curry Series 7. And then the shoe that has one of the best core feels that you can get right now is the Sabrina 3. So this shoe has one of the best core feels, and then it's the Book 1. And then it's the Curry 7, or Series 7, sorry. And then it's this shoe, right? So yeah, it's not the best for core feel, and with the not so good core, I wouldn't say it's terrible, but it's not great, you know what I mean? And with that, you know, high up off the ground feel, combining that with the instability of the actual shoe, it kind of bothered me, but that we'll get to that, of course. So the thing that I really like about the shoe is the underfoot cushion though. The underfoot cushion is actually quite nice, which is very, very new for Under Armour for me, right? So the shoe that has really nice underfoot feel is a Curry Series 7 as well. I don't know what they did in this shoe, but it feels really soft and plush, you know? And it's not like super duper plush, you know, comparing to like the 8085 Ultra V2 or like the Jordan 40 or the Joker 1 GT or the Kai 2, you know, or even like the Tatum 4s, but it still has a really nice like soft plush feel, you know? And it feels very similar for the underfoot feel with the Futr X Elite 2. However, it has worse core feel, which kind of sucks, right? So the insole, they're using pretty much a regular Ortholite insole, right? But then underneath that, they're actually using a soft mesh strobo board, and just pressing it is so freaking soft, right? So the step and comfort, very, very nice, very, very plush. I really like it, right? But then also once I started playing, jumping around, doing jump shots, I can feel my foot digging into the flow. And I don't know if it's dual density or not, because like if you see the actual holes, there seems to be a different foam inside of this, right? So, but also if you look at the strobe board, it's like a white foam. But either way, it's probably dual density, right? But either way, again, the underfoot feel, very, very nice, very plush. It's soft, and again, it feels very similar to the Curry Series 7. But then, again, the Curry Series 7 has better core feel though. So I don't know why they had to make the court feel a little bit worse, but either way, it still feels really great for the stepping comfort and underfoot cushion. Impact protection was also very nice. I had zero issues with hard impacts or anything like that, so very nice for the impact protection. There's also a little bit of heel compression as well. Not super duper soft, but there is a little bit here. However, it's not bouncy though. So if you're looking for a bouncy feel, springy feel for the cushion, this isn't going to give it to you. It's more like a softer feel, but still very nice and comfortable nonetheless. Again, but also the thing that I don't like is that the court feel isn't the greatest. So there is a cushioning setup there. Moving on to the upper. So again, with this upper in this shoe, they're giving us a knit material, right? And they're calling it the IntelliKnit. But it's supposed to give dynamic compression for your foot, which it kind of does, but then like, once you break it in, it does stretch out a lot, right? But also the most noticeable thing about the shoe, especially on the lateral side, but also pretty much encompassing the entire toe box, is this kind of like plastic overlay. It's like a softer type of plastic, but it's still there, and it still does like give it a nice supportive feel, you know what I mean? But one thing that I really didn't like that really hurt my foot was right over here. Right, so when I first got it, I was walking around, I didn't really notice it too much, and it didn't really bother me at all actually, right? However, once I started playing, I don't know what it is, but like right over here where the plastic is and also where the shoe kind of like flexes obviously, both of my pinky toes, both of them, right? There was a huge blister on top of my pinky toe, and it really hurt. It was very tender for a couple days. So actually, like when I first played in this, I had to not play in these for a couple days. You know what I mean? So that really didn't feel good. But now it's broken in. You know, it doesn't really hurt or bother me too much anymore. Just be careful with that. That's just something that happened to me. Either way, it's still, look at this. It's still an extremely soft material where the knit is, and then it's still soft where the plastic is as well, which I do like. But again, I wish they would have opened up like a little bit of a flex zone here, you know, obviously where the actual shoe bends, you know what I mean? Because I don't know why you would have the thicker plastic parts where the actual shoe bends here, but again, not a huge deal anymore once that is broken in, right? But yeah, it has a really soft, very thin, very comfortable feel, and also where the tongue's supposed to be, like on top of your foot, covering the laces pretty much, it's a really stretchy material as well. Look at this, very stretchy. Also the collar is extremely stretchy as well. When I first got it, it was a little bit hard to slip my foot into the shoe, but now that it's broken in, it's really easy, and it literally just feels like an extra sock over my foot, you know what I mean? So yeah, it reminds me a lot of the old school shoes, and again, it's a really thin, very stretchy material. It almost feels like a second skin as well because it has that stretchy feel, you know, it just stretches over your foot. Here in the ankle area, we do have a very minimal amount of padding as well, but it does cup in, so it does feel kind of nice for the heel lockdown too. And then here in the heel, we have a little bit more of that plastic, but it's like extremely thin, especially here on the medial side, right? So yeah, the quality also is really nice. I really like the quality. I didn't really have any issues with like the durability, but obviously with the knit material, especially being this thin, it's not gonna be the best for durability. But I feel like on the lateral side and also on top of your toes where the plastic overlays are, those are kind of like where the highway areas are, and I feel like they did a good job covering all those spaces. So I don't think you need to worry about durability of the upper too much. The thing that you need to worry about obviously is the outsole, right? So there is the upper there. Moving on to the fit. So I went true to size, and the shoe fits me extremely well, right? So here in the Curry Series 7, I went up half a size, and this shoe fits me a little bit long. So because of that, I want to go true to size for this shoe, and because I went true to size, this shoe is a very nice snug fit. However, here in the toe box, it does get a little bit roomier. You know, I feel like when I first got it, it was a little bit more snug, but then now that it's broken in, it's stretched out just a tiny bit. I can curl my toes up a little bit more. It's kind of weird because when my toes are laying flat, it's a kind of a snug fit, but then with this stretchier knit material, I can curl my toes up a little bit easier, you know what I mean? So it just feels a little bit different. You know what I mean? Compared to a shoe that has a little bit more of like a stiffer material here in the toe box, you know, like the AE2, where it's a snug fit, and then I can't curl my toes up because it's like a stiffer material. Here, it's still a snug fit, but with the stretchier, softer material for the knit, I can curl my toes up a little bit more. You know what I mean? So if you want that really snug, tight fit here in the toe box where you can't curl your toes up at all, you're not gonna really get it here, right? Also for the width, it is slightly narrow as well. I can definitely feel this part hitting the side of my pinky toe just a tiny bit. And again, lengthwise, I'm good going true to size. So if you want a nice snug fit, then go true to size, right? And now moving on to the support in lockdown. So the support in lockdown was terrible for me in this shoe, right? So I feel like if you're a shooting guard, right? If your main thing is you want to shoot, right? And I'm not talking about like doing a lot of lateral movements, like you do a crazy amount of like moves to get your shot off, right? If you're the type of dude where you do a lot of shooting off the dribble, then this probably isn't going to be the best shoe, because again, like the support and like the lateral support in the shoe is not the greatest, right? But if you're more of like a spot up shooter, right? If you're just like catch and shoot, or you just do like a pull up jumper and that's kind of like your main thing, and you don't really do a whole lot of crazy cuts, or I guess cuts you should be okay, but if you do like a lot of crazy step backs and crossovers and stuff like that, this definitely is not the best, right? I would definitely recommend like, you know, the Curry Series 7 over this shoe, right? So first of all, a lateral containment. Lateral containment is really good in the sense where your foot is not coming out of the footbed. You know what I mean? Because obviously you can see the flow material, right? The flow also coming up, acting as a side one is pretty freaking crazy. So here in the forefoot, you're covered. Here in the heel, you're covered, and there is an internal TPU heel counter. So my foot's not coming out of the footbed at all, which is of course very, very good. But with this Intella knit upper, even though it is a very snug fit for me, and also here in the midfoot area, it's stretchy. You know what I mean? So even if I really crank down the laces, my foot would just move inside of the shoe a lot, like diagonally, like this. You know, just a tiny bit though. You know what I mean? But also combining that with the instability, like the lateral instability, I just felt really kind of like sluggish, and I just didn't feel quick when I was doing those like quick cuts, lateral movements, crossovers, step backs and stuff like that as I wanted to. Like I didn't feel quick like if I was playing in this shoe. I was also playing in the Wild 12 as well. Like these are the shoes that I was kind of like testing, and when I was playing in these two shoes, I felt really, really quick. I had zero issues with kind of like that support, but then with this shoe, it felt really, really bad. But if I was just concentrating on just shooting or something like that, you know, if I was just in the corner and just doing catch and shoot, I didn't really mind it too much. If you're more of like a player that goes more linearly, like going forward, you know, backwards and stuff like that, not doing a lot of like lateral, like sideways movements, then this shoe is going to be not that big of a deal, right? But again, for me, I am a guard. I do a lot of crossovers and I'm like kind of shifty, so this is not, I did not like this shoe. You know what I mean? So first of all, yeah, my foot's moving inside of the shoe a little bit, and also the lateral instability. Like, why would you make the freaking shoe like this? Like, holy crap. So it just felt really unstable and also pretty unsafe when I was playing in the shoe, especially again with the lateral movements. So that's one thing, like, why would you make it like this? Like, if you look at the Curry Series 7, look. You can see how edged out it is. And it's, right? But then here, it rocks. Not only does it rock this way, which I like, but it also rocks laterally like this. So, yeah. It just felt extremely unstable as well. And again, the overall upper doesn't have great support too, so yeah, it wasn't a huge fan of that, you know. So there is a supporting lockdown there. Moving on to the weight of the shoe. This shoe is extremely light because, of course, all shoes, pretty much all shoes that use float is extremely light, and also with the knit material, like really thin knit material. So this shoe is really freaking light. It comes in at 10.2 ounces, which is one of the light, like being in the 10 ounce range is insane, you know. It's a little bit heavier than the Series 7 though, which comes in at 8.25. Like the Series 7 is just the epitome of light shoes. Extremely, extremely light. This shoe is still extremely light, coming in at 10.2 ounces. Let's check the other shoe. Comes in at 10.2 ounces as well. So it's extremely freaking light. However, it feels a little bit bulky though, because, you know, it does protrude out, you know, the actual like flow outsole, you know, with all this does feel a little bit cumbersome, a little bit bulky. I'm not saying it's bulky at all though, right? I'm not saying it's like a super bulky shoe. I'm just saying this part, especially here in the heel, does feel a tiny bit bulky, but of course with the upper, it does feel extremely minimal, right? The upper is extremely minimal. But when I was playing in the shoe, I did feel quick, and also the thing that I really loved about the shoe is doing like fast breaks and running down the court. It just felt extremely smooth, and then doing like, you know, catch and shoot, you know, just shooting, just only shooting with this shoe felt really nice as well. But again, the thing that I really felt sluggish in was the support department and also doing lateral movements, which is kind of like my game, you know. So yeah, wasn't a huge fan of that. And then moving on to the durability, yeah, the durability, I feel like it's okay. You know, the outsole feels terrible, but the upper, it feels like it's holding up pretty well. You know what I mean? But again, with this knit material, I definitely don't feel like it's going to be amazing for durability. So there's that. And moving on to the ventilation, really, really nice. You know, there is a good amount of airflow through this kind of like knit material. Again, it's really thin as well, so it doesn't keep in heat. So ventilation is pretty dang good in the shoe. And then moving on to the aesthetics, again, I do like it. It looks pretty dang clean. It looks very, very nice. So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, the thing that really sucked was the lateral instability. Yeah, I really didn't like that. Also, another thing I didn't really like is the chord feel. You know what I mean? I just wish it had a little bit better chord feel. And also the upper, I feel like, is just not great for the support. You know what I mean? And I feel like if it did one of those things pretty well, I would still like playing in the shoe. You know what I mean? But combining all those issues together made me really not like playing in the shoe, which kind of sucks because I really want to like the shoe, you know? So I feel like for most people, probably not the best option. If you really like flow and you want a little bit more of a cushion setup, and also you're just a pure shooter, and again, you move very linearly, you know, like you're just a spot up shooter, catch and shoot and stuff like that, then I feel like it's a good option. But if you're a bigger dude, no. If you're a guard and you do like a lot of shifty moves, also, again, I don't think this is the best option, right? So anyways, that about concludes my performance review of the UA Futr X Elite 2. Again, if you guys do want to copy, try to leave in the free link in the description box. And also, again, if you want an Under Armour shoe, which I feel like not a lot of people do, but if you want, I guess if you want flow, then the way better option, just spend $10 more and just get the Curry Series 7. It's lighter, it's lower to the ground, but still has just as good cushion, traction's the exact same pretty much. The upper is more supportive as well, although I wouldn't say the durability is the best for this type of upper, right? But anyways, that about concludes this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.